Dimela, Saubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Obshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Doria Laria Show, where I invite inspirational leaders who inspire, influence, and impact their communities to live a little bit better than they did yesterday. Tonight is a very, very special segment for this evening. And as you know, I need for you to get two things ready. I need for you, of course, to have your cup of tea. Also, take notes. I need my stream team to be large and in charge this evening, whether you're seeing this live or on the replay. There are going to be a lot of very interesting facts and many, many, many opportunities for those who live in my favorite place in the world, Brooklyn. But not just Brooklyn. The heart of Brooklyn, which depending on what side of Atlantic Avenue you are on, but if you're on my side, there's nothing like Flatbush. And tonight we're actually going to be talking all about Flatbush and how Flatbush is someone's trying to compare us with somebody like halfway across the country. I don't really know how that's going to go, but that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you know someone who lives in Flatbush, if you know a business owner who operates in Flatbush, if you know someone who lives somewhere else but operates in Flatbush, I really need for you to have you invite them to, again, pull up a chair, a little pillow on the floor, whatever you got to do, put the speakers on loud, because this is going to be, I don't know, almost like a little, you trying to compare Flatbush to who? Let's welcome my guest tonight, and that is Naomi Strobin.
Perfect.
Fabulous, fabulous. Welcome, Naomi.
Thank you. You're cracking me up here because you know one thing about what I'm going to talk about, and you're making it all like, what's going to happen here?
So, right. So this is one of the first conversations that is sort of, I want to say off the cuff, meaning usually I do a real serious deep dive into who I'm going to be speaking to, what we're going to be speaking about. But the moment that I heard Flatbush, I said, no. I have got to be on this conversation. I have to be a part of this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm actually going to give the little bio because, some people read the byline and the caption. And then some people just like, no, we just want to know who quick, and then we'll come on. Right. So I'm going to give the little bio. If I can pull it up. Here we go. So this is an invitation. It's an invitation to people who, again, live in Flatbush, one of the best zip codes, one of the best, in the heart of Brooklyn, in the city of Brooklyn, the borough of Brooklyn, my goodness, which is the greatest place in New York to live. And so we're inviting the citizens of Flatbush. This is your goal, to help pilot a community outreach. I really need all of the elected officials, and y'all know who you are. Please don't let me call your name out, right? All of the folks who are really doing a great, great job in the neighborhood of Flatbush, to a project to amplify the voices of Brooklyn in partnership, now this is the interesting part, with Missouri Public Radio. I'm going to get to that because I know a couple of people who actually live in Missouri or did live in Missouri. So I had to do that kind of homework. So organized by Internews Interactive, a California-based media nonprofit, the project will partner radio reporters recruited by the Missouri School of Journalism in Columbia and the Columbia School of Journalism in New York City. Shout out Columbia. Shout out Columbia. You have raised a number of people in my family. Shout out Columbia. To serve as news ambassadors to their regions of the country. So the reporters have selected a community in their region, Flatbush, of course, in New York, and the small city, y'all can't really compare, of Moberly in Missouri, to conduct a deep listening project. So there was a town hall this past weekend, which is how I got connected. And then I said, oh, no. You really actually need to be on the Doria Larry Show. You just have to. So there is still time. Again, all you Flatbush residents, all you Flatbush community organizers, come through. So if you're interested in having your opinions heard on various, here we go, political and social issues and personal experiences about everyday life in Flatbush, you need to chat with her right there. So afterwards, the journalists are going to follow up with individuals, some of who attended the town hall meetings if you were there on Saturday, and some who did not. That's why we're here, for deeper interviews. And the reporting teams will then do a story on their respective communities using the town hall as the touchstone, right, as the foundation, to detect an issue where Flatbush and Moberly are unlikely to see eye to eye is the topic of our story. I already know this is going to be heated. I already know, because we're nothing like anybody else. And then through the reporters, each community will have a chance to question the other about concerns, beliefs, and hopes. So in essence, in my mind, this is like reaching across the aisles, right? Reaching across the zip codes, reaching across the geographical borderlines. Naomi, tell me more about this.
I would love to. So thank you so much for giving us some time to get more interest in our project, and even more important than that, do something good for the world. Really, that's what it's about. Because I'm a journalist, and I work in public radio, and you hear so much about in the news and about journalism, and just in the news in general, about how people don't agree, how divided we are, how divisive we are. You hardly hear about common ground. You hardly hear about people changing their minds because they understand somebody else better. But that's what we're trying to do. So we picked two communities: Flatbush, cheers. Um, so urban, obviously very diverse, with its own set of people have their own set of concerns about where their community is going, how national policy affects you, if your elected officials are doing a good enough job, how money's being spent, all that stuff. Everything from what's going on your street to what's going on all over Flatbush. And then we picked this other community, Moberly, Missouri, which is a small town in Missouri. And wait, can I go and show my screen so I can show the difference?
You sure can. Let's see that.
All right, so just here's a map, right? Two
One
stars
second.
in it.
Hold on. There we go. Go ahead.
There's the map. So here's us in Flatbush, and here's Moberly, Missouri, in the middle of the country, right? That's Missouri, that state. Not everybody knows that. And so, trying to get my slide to move. Here's our team. Some of these people were at the Flatbush Library on Saturday talking with some Flatbush residents, and that was really great. And here's the two communities we're going to talk to. And as you said, we want to find an issue about which people disagree. People in Flatbush, people in Moberly. It's probably not going to be hard to do because you all vote differently. You have a different, you see different things in your community. Moberly is mostly white, and 74% voted Republican in 2020. Flatbush is mostly Black, 87% Black, 77 voted Democrat in 2020. And just to make it even cooler, here's a satellite view of both communities. The top is Flatbush, and all that gray is houses and buildings and pavement and all that. And here's Prospect Park, but you can see it's much more dense. And here's Moberly, only 1,000 people per square mile versus Flatbush, which is 100 times more dense, right?
Right. Actually, so can I just point out something?
Mm-hmm.
A little red rectangle.
Here?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the heart of Flatbush.
Yeah.
Are these two maps to scale in comparison to each other?
What a great question.
Because what I'm looking at down there doesn't look like.
I think you're right.
You understand what I mean?
I think you're right. I think the Moberly view is much closer.
Okay, because if that little red thing in the middle of Moberly is, let's say, the center, I can't read what that tiny thing says.
It's a hospital, actually.
A hospital, right? So that's just a question I have, which is a very good question to say. But right, 100,000 people per square mile.
Can you believe it?
Yes, I can, because yes, we do live on top of each other. I cannot say I have to be a part of this conversation. I have to be a part of this conversation.
I hope so.
I have to. Okay. Oh, wait. Go back a picture. Go back a picture. So the street, who took that picture of Flatbush?
I honestly don't know who took it, but somebody on my team selected it as being kind of representative of Flatbush. That's probably Flatbush Avenue, right? I don't know.
So I know exactly where that is, which is why I said, oh my goodness. So those people who know me, they know I was born and raised in Flatbush. Shout out Flatbush. I lived for, I'll say 3/4 of my life by that building that you're looking at.
Oh,
So
no
that is at
kidding.
the corner of, those of you who know, that is between Cortelli Road to, it's Flatbush Avenue. You're looking at Flatbush Avenue. To the left of the picture is Cortelli Road, and to the right of the picture is Beverly Road. Up Beverly Road, oh, so people kind of know what this is. Right across, what facing or opposite this building was the CVS that just closed a couple of months ago. There was a pizza shop that I used to go to when I was in elementary school. So we're talking way over 4 decades ago. I know I don't look at. Up the block on Beverly Road is the iconic Sears and Roebuck store, which just closed maybe about 2 years ago, and it's a national landmark, so they're not going to prayerfully demolish it. And I literally lived across the street from Sears for the first 5 years of my life. I lived on the opposite side of that building on Kentucky Road for the other 5 years of my life, and then we moved 3 blocks this across the street for the next like 20 years. So I was
That's wild. I wish I could say I did it on purpose, but we didn't.
That's fabulous. Okay.
That's
Good.
wild.
But
That's
that's
wild.
amazing that
But
these
you can see and understand how different these communities are, right? By the way you all voted, by the fact that you know Flatbush is very much a city and Moberly is really a town.
it's a borough. There's all of this like what's a borough? Y'all got to talk to the political folks, but we know Flowers is a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is the borough. Oh, sorry. Flowers is the neighborhood. Brooklyn is the borough.
Sure, and I know that, but what I meant is like it's city living, you know.
Oh, yes.
As opposed to in Moberly, people probably look out their windows and see, you know, cows and trees and, you know,
Oh,
not
okay.
other people.
Okay.
So should I keep going?
Please. Yes.
Okay. So the project, whoops, that you saw that already. We're having community meetings. We had one in Flatbush on Saturday at the library, as you said, and the next one's in Moberly on Thursday. And it's a chance for us to ask people from the community, what's important to you? You know, how do you feel about the national policy on immigration, on abortion, on education? What do you want in your community? What do you wish for? What do you love about your community? What's true about your community that it makes it like no other place? And boy, there were a lot of amazing answers to that on Saturday.
Yes.
And then we're going to figure out what people disagree on in Flatbush and Moberly, and what one issue can we pick to report on, and then go back to people and report a little more and talk to them and help them understand each other. You know, help them understand why people in Moberly feel this way about something, and help the people in Moberly understand why people in Flatbush feel this way about that something, and see if we can move people a little bit to understand others better and maybe even change their mind or feel a little differently about something. That's it. It's a pilot project. It may be like we're crazy and people aren't going to be open to changing their minds, but you know what? Maybe they will be. And that's kind of the whole point.
Okay. So when I asked about how this was being flyered, like how it was being promoted, and I want to take us out of this for a moment. Wait, is that going to work? Oh, look at that. I love that. We're at the bottom now.
Oh, well, I can stop sharing.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, there we go. Good. There we go. Now we're larger and in charge. So as I was trying to figure out how it was shared so that people knew, about this so that you can get more eyes on the project, more
Yeah.
eyes on the prize. We're always filled with, parallels here. And that you can get, more ears to the ground of this so that more voices can be heard. It was interesting. Sort of let us know how you got the word out, or how, which is why I said, no, you have to be here, because people from Flatbush are going to watch this, right?
So true. So true. Well, we had a young woman named Elena, who's a reporter. She really did the legwork. I mean, I can't. We went together to Flatbush Frolic. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
That was that was awesome.
Yes.
We met so many people, and she's done reporting in Flatbush. She did a big reporting project about the African burial ground.
Yes.
And so there were some people at the meeting because she knows them. They came to the meeting. That was great. But she's just been trying to contact all kinds of community leaders and people who are, advocates for one cause or another. There were religious groups we met. There was a group to help with hunger. We met that representative. A lot of people didn't come. It's a question of whether they had the time free and whether you could make it. But we want to go back and talk to people, hopefully some people who are listening to us now, and dig a lot more into what it means to live in Flatbush and what's important to you, and what you'd like to change and what you disagree with the people in Moberly about.
Okay. So I know that, and this, of course, I had this conversation off camera, that there were a couple of elected officials who you were attempting to contact, and I'm definitely going to share this with them to say this needs to be given some weight. And thank you so much to Columbia University, who, as we say in the church world, who considered it not robbery to slide on over to Flatbush, to get Flatbush, to pass Flatbush the mic. We need to pass Flatbush the mic. There are so many interesting people and sub communities within Flatbush.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
Well, I don't want to give. Listen, you're not interviewing me. I'm trying to get you more people to your event.
Yeah.
But there's and I am a long-standing resident of Flatbush. Again, born across. Those people know Flatbush. Born across the street from Sears, then moved to the other side, literally around the corner to Catelli Road for 5 years. Then to some people know East 21. If you know what that is, you know what that is. And my family is there for the next 30 years. 30, 40 years. And so the only time I left basically was for college. And then, came back. I have to say I slid over to Bed-Stuy, across Atlantic Avenue, but I came back to Flatbush. But because Flatbush is just a place I love. But there's definitely a community that, with the change of tide of just people moving in and people moving out. So there are very interesting enclaves within that small sort of rectangular border that people don't even recognize is a part of Flatbush. Nationalities that are decades old, that are still in tiny pockets, and then this beautiful burgeoning community of people from the Caribbean, even people from Eastern Europe, that slid into tiny pockets, that live amongst themselves and that have built beautiful tiny enclaves. Can I get into Columbia? I think y'all need me.
I'd love it. I would love it. You sound like a reporter already, so
welcome to the Doria Laria Show.
You're a communicator.
There we go. But I really think that to get an amazing cross-section of the members of this community, it just takes like another leg of work, and possibly, and I'm happy to support that, another voice and another face to open up the doors because realistically, some people are not going to talk about, hey, we've lived here again like 40, 50, 60 years in the same, let's say, building along Prospect Park, which has changed considerably. I'm just going to give like tiny voices, or, raise a tiny voice. And I'm saying we are members of the burgeoning Caribbean community who are the serious entrepreneurs. And I said this to you right before we popped on, who had their shop. So I'm talking local agricultural market, their shop, their wares in a building that was, let's say, built for them within an existing space. And then with revitalization, the structure that they were in was removed from them, albeit they were shifted to another place. But if the epicenter of commerce is at that corner, and everybody knows they can get their coconut water, their cloves, their bay leaves straight from the Caribbean, their Louis Mascretti, those who know what I'm talking about, from the little ladies, or the brothers, or the coconut and the cane sugar from the brothers on the corner. They know that when they were asked to shift 15 blocks away, that seriously impacted their commerce, because the people who would walk out of their houses or a block or two away, just along the same path, Flatbush Church, Flatbush, Parkside, Flatbush, and Linden, they now have to go way on the other side of Ditmas. Those who know, to Clarendon Road. They're not going all the way down there. That's like a bus ride. So that was a huge sore spot. And that needs to be, talked about. If we talk about, I'd say it would be the late 80s and the kerfluffle that occurred along Church Avenue, by the Church Avenue train station, on the Q line, the Korean grocers and the Caribbean family who sort of bumped heads. And I'm saying that lightly. That was a sore spot. That got a lot of political news. That got a lot of social justice news way before we had the let's say, like, protesting that we have now going on. We have religious communities that we've welcomed some different aspects of faith into the Flatbush community. And those members of religious communities who literally, and I'm going to use the word lightly, sat in their own pew or on their own side of the aisle, recognize that if we really want to take care of the needs of the community and support the let's say, the political infrastructure, the law enforcement infrastructure, that we really have to reach across the aisle, right? Go into another pew or let's say a prayer mat, and speak to people not within your own dogma, but find the commonality and find the universality of faith. And so 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have these, what are they called? I want to say faith-based councils or interfaith. Please forgive me, I'm not remembering the word right now. But those type of organizations or groups or committees are now in force, standing with, our local precincts. That didn't happen. Clergy councils, that's what they're called, clergy councils. That didn't happen en masse like it is happening right now. And so that's a beautiful thing that's happening, because then more people are like, oh, it's not the X religious group versus no, we're all trying to go to school. We're all trying to live at peace. we're all trying to vote for the people who believe that will represent us, and speak to our needs. We're all trying to buy, the same apple. So we need some economic stability. And so how do we take care of that within our own, block, within our own streets? So, we have to definitely shout out from, so let's say Newkirk, and I'm going to call out what I can remember. And let's see if I can do it in order. So we have going across. So from, I guess, I don't know if it's east to west or west to east, but I'll start with Newkirk Avenue, because this is like a borderline. So Newkirk Avenue, Ditmas, uh, Dorchester, Cortelyou, Beverly, Albemarle, depending on which side of the street you're on. Those who know. And then you have Church Avenue, you have Linden Boulevard, you have Lenox Road, then you have Parkside, and then you have the park. All of these blocks, but then you have the major, like New York Avenue. If you want to go past New York Avenue, I don't know if you're going to Brooklyn Avenue, New York, Nostrand, Rogers, Bedford, Flatbush, and then you go to Ocean, and then you go back to Coney Island Avenue if you're going to go back that far. There are so many diverse communities within that. And yes, people are trying to live more harmoniously, and people live more harmoniously now. But I want to say maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was just different. It wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. But thank God for places or organizations like FDC, Flatbush Development Corporation, right? CAMBA, Church Avenue Merchants Block Association. That's a huge organization that needs to be connected if you haven't connected with them already. Who else? You have, of course, like a whole lot of major churches. I definitely have to shout out my church, Salem Missionary Baptist Church. Definitely have to shout them out. Dutch Reformed Church, which is right at the corner, is the epicenter of Flatbush, at the corner of Church and Flatbush. My high school, shout out to Erasmus Hall High School, which Flatbush is not without it. It's more than 200 plus years old, second oldest high school in the second oldest institution in the country, second to Boston Latin. There are just so many amazing people, places, and organizations and institutions in the heart of Flatbush. And yes, the newest historical find, which is the African burial ground, right attached to Erasmus Hall High School. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a world within itself. It is a world within itself. So I'm really glad and happy and excited that you're going to take a look at Flatbush. I have to say, though, when you start looking at Moberly, I'll be interested, but there's nothing like Flatbush.
It's going to be really different, and that's the point, right?
Right.
And,
So what do you anticipate the commonalities? I mean, literally, people are trying to, live with families. They're trying to send people to school. They're trying to become educated. They're trying to work. They're trying to raise a family. They're trying to create a legacy. They're trying to stay safe. What else is there? No matter what party line you vote on.
Agree.
No matter
But
what.
then we fall apart somewhere outside of that. We fall apart. We disagree about stuff.
Right. When it gets larger than the basic necessities of life.
Yeah.
So before that, everything is, and I'm using this as a double entendre, everything is black and white. It's crystal clear.
Yeah.
We want to eat. We want to sleep. We want to go to school. We want to have fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we want to believe. We want to protect ourselves. We want to protect our family. Everything else becomes a little murky.
Yeah.
So,
but when it comes time to vote or to pay your taxes or all those things where somebody is making a decision, that's what we want to look at. Or should we allow people coming in over the borders? Should we tell schools how they should teach kids? Should the parents decide or should the teachers decide? Those kinds of things,
So I'm actually interested in the conversation about, let's just say, newness, new families. I'll try to be as politically correct as I can. Because Flatbush, and I have to say it like this, we got everybody. As long as there's a place to live, as long as there is a corner, and people understand what I mean by a corner or a closet, it's going to be filled by somebody. I don't know many people who get pushed out, or who it is said, I don't think this is a good fit. Some people know I'm saying it like that. Let's keep moving. But I'd be interested in finding out, looking especially at the demographics of of Moberly, how literally it is the polar opposite in terms of demographics. And of course, population density.
Yeah.
What was it? Like 10,000? We have 100,000?
1,000 versus 100,000.
Oh,
per square mile. Yeah.
I don't, wait a minute. I don't, wait. That doesn't sound right. I know, listen, I know we have high buildings. I know apartment buildings run the gamut. But you're telling me that Flatbush then has more than, let's say, 150,000 people.
I don't know what the land area is, but
right. That's what I'm trying
how many
to
square miles are in Flatbush? That's the question.
Right. It's not very big. So let me see. It's only 1.02 miles per one square mile. Look, literally, this is what I did. This is what I did.
I hear you. Okay. And how many people live in Flatbush? You don't think it's 100,000?
I bet it is. I'll look it up.
I'm looking it up too. I mean, I did do the research and that's what I got, but it's great to check it.
Okay. Okay. 105,000.
So it's like exactly, right? It's like almost exactly 100,000 per square mile.
Wow. I did not know that. I did not know that. That's a whole lot of people. That's wow. Okay. And then of course we have our little map of course, sorry for this is the lighting on this is going to look weird, but anyway, but this is the races in 2019. So all of that gray is, that's actually was purple, is black. So 58.7% black, 11%, and this is in 2019. 58.7% black, 11.9% Hispanic, 5.9% American Indian, 11.9% white, 6.9% Asian, 2.4% 2+ races, and 2.2% other. Wow.
It's not Moberly.
It's I'm sorry, I was about to say, right, it ain't Moberly. It's far from it.
Part of me would like to take a bunch of people from Flatbush to Moberly and the other way around too, and just plop them on a corner and have them meet each other.
We can do that.
We should do that.
We could do that. Or you can do that. I'll just listen. People know I'll just be sitting there eating popcorn like this.
Watch it all happen.
I'm just gonna eat my popcorn. I want to see. That would be great. I'm really looking forward to, again, like supporting this effort of putting Flatbush. No, Flatbush is already on the map. Flatbush is already, literally, those who know, Flatbush is a whole mood. People will say Brooklyn is a whole mood, and then Brooklyn is known like across the world. How do I get on a boat going to Robben Island in South Africa, and I see a person with a t-shirt that says Brooklyn on it? And I go up to the person and I said, I like your shirt. He's like, yeah. I said, it says Brooklyn on it. I was like, have you ever been there? And he goes, no. I said, but how do you know Brooklyn? And he goes, oh my, like I hear about it all the time. I said, guess what? I said, I'm from Brooklyn. And he's like, really? I said, you see all those people over there? Because I was with a group of folks. I said, they're all from Brooklyn. He's like, can I take a picture with you? But you're in South Africa. Okay. But Flatbush, we have t-shirts.
Where was he from?
He was from somewhere in South Africa. That's why I was like, how do you, and I was like, have you ever been to the States? And he's like, no. How do you have a shirt that says Brooklyn? He's like, oh, I've heard about it. Okay. Excellent. But I would love to sort of see this take off there. I just definitely know that if you're going to represent Brooklyn, that's one thing. But if you're going to represent Flatbush, you need a whole lot of other voices. So hopefully I'm going to definitely share this with a number of my Brooklyn peeps.
And if will people tell you if they're interested and you can make the connection with us?
I'm sending them directly to you.
All right. Okay.
I'm sending them directly to you. So, right. I mean, listen, we all have a number of things that we love, but of course, if there's one thing that I do love, and I love Flatbush. I love the place that I've grown up in. I think since my birth, I probably have moved only 3 times, again, with the exception of going to college, but 23rd, a block away, 23rd, 19th, and then 21st. That's it. That's it. All within the same, I guess 10 blocks of each other.
Why go anywhere else?
That's it. And it's literally in the heart of Flatbush. So I appreciate it. I'm so glad to support this. Let us know when the next dates are that you will be meeting with people or hosting town halls. And I will be talking about this because I have a couple of other episodes in the next few weeks. And so
Right.
At each one, I will say, well, so we have a phrase that says, this part of a song says, where's Brooklyn at? But in this situation, where's Flatbush at? Flatbush, pull up. That, you're going to learn some phrases. Flatbush, pull up. Flatbush, pull up. You've got to have your voice heard. You got to let people know in Moberly, Missouri, how strong and how powerful we are, how deep our roots are. Again, like on Catellia Road, on Albemarle, on Beverly, Rogers, Bedford, Catellia, East 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, up to Coney Island Avenue. You got to let people know like how we live. How you living? You live in the Flatbush way. I'm just, put me on a campaign. Put me on a campaign. I love it. I love it.
I love it. I love it.
Excellent. So those people who I know are watching, and when you are seeing this on the replay, because I'm definitely going to share this all over. Please. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't even looking at the comments. Yes. Hi. I'm actually going to delete that comment. So my mom is watching. Mom, you cannot let people know.
Hi, Mom.
My mom is trying to shout me out. I love you, Mom. So yes, we're going to be representing Flatbush strong. But there are a lot of new. So the one last thing I want to say is that initially when there were, and I'll use this word lovingly, when there were newcomers into the Flatbush community, and again, I've lived in Flatbush for half a century, more than that there was a community, almost like community lines, but not really. Those people who are Flatbush more than 50, 60 years, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Literally, people lived cohesively without the interruption of, and I'm saying this as a person who grew up in the early 70s in Flatbush and went to public school in Flatbush. We just knew that we were in school. Post 60s and civil rights, expansion, my friends with the exception of Asians, were Italian, were Jewish, not Orthodox, because they didn't come to school with us. They didn't. On Wednesdays, people left who were Catholic and they went to religious instruction. That was like a big thing. Shout out to PS 139 because that's where I went to elementary school, right on Cortelia Road. And they didn't. We just had friends. We just had schoolmates. I never remember conversations of like racial tension or political tension. I don't recall that. As people shifted and some people moved to those people who recognize Canarsie and they moved out to Canarsie and they like, oh, you're big time now. You leave the neighborhood. And then other people came in. I think some older people were like, listen, like this is where we've grown up. We have stake in this ground. But the people, no matter the color, from my perspective, we did it together. That pizza shop that was right next to the CVS that just closed down about 3 or 4 years ago only changed hands once.
Mm.
The new owners, the first owners, were the parents of my classmate. And everybody like knew that. Everybody knew that. And so to see the shifting in other groups come in, it's like, wow, new people are coming in. All right, that means somebody left. I don't think much tension occurred, which includes political shifting, again, from my perspective, until, let's say, the late 80s in Flatbush. So I'm very proud that in that picture that you showed, the picture that we were looking at the corner on the right side was a fabric store. That fabric store was owned by this beautiful Jewish family, an Orthodox Jewish family. They just retired and sort of closed shop maybe 3 years ago, maybe. But I'm past 50. I remember this family when I lived around the corner. There was no, we don't serve so-and-so. We are Flatbush folks. We take care of each other. That's what I remember. Up until, again, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, did they still own that shop? That's like the neighborhood that I remember and that I love.
That's what people told us on Saturday.
Yes.
100,000 people, but people know each other. People help strangers. People, and they also said that people stay in Flatbush. There's not a lot of
That's what
movement
I
in and
mean.
out like in other communities.
That's what I mean. And now, there's like, oh, Flatbush. And so again, I'll say new people. We see people and we're like, where are you from? Because we know you're not from this area. Like, why are you moving into this area? And a lot of people are taking up, and you'll find out as you speak to more people, we have beautiful, beautiful pre-war apartment buildings, which are extremely spacious. You cannot get the space on, and those who know, especially along Ocean Avenue, not Ocean, excuse me. Yes, across Ocean Avenue, across Bedford Avenue, closest to the park, but even up in what some people may call Ditmas Park, which is still a part of Flatbush. It's like a little enclave. Beautiful, again, pre-war buildings that if you were in Manhattan, child, please, you'd be paying 3, 4, 5 times the rent. And so folks are like, ooh, let's go snatch something up. And you'll find out, there are a lot of tenant concerns because some owners of the apartment or management companies of these apartments figured out like, oh my goodness, we can take this quote unquote 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment and cut it up. that's a whole other conversation for a different day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there is some misuse of residential space that is occurring, and tenants who have, again, lived there, or they've passed it on to their children. So we have people who literally, like three generations, right, across 5, 6, 7 decades, lived in Flatbush, never left. So Flatbush is strong. Flatbush has a beautiful, strong culture that shifts, and there's still like an essence of old Flatbush. And there are like even amazing Facebook groups of people who live in Flatbush. If you just type in like old Flatbush or Flatbush in the 60s or 70s, and you'll hear names of stores, names of like soda shops, if you will, or names of like drugstores that had like a soda fountain counter, or like the butcher, or like the baker that was up on Kentucky Road. Oh, child, I can go on for days. I can go on for days. I can go on for days. But I pray you well on this effort. Would love to help out as much as I can, or just point to people or places or corners that are iconic.
Yeah, love that. Love it.
Iconic. So those of you who are going to, if you're here live, excellent. If you're gonna, and if you want to drop a comment, of course, please, when you see this if you're gonna see it on the replay, drop like a comment of like, if you've lived, especially if you've lived in Flatbush more than 20 years, what is a street corner this group needs to know about, or again, like, like the if a person especially has lived, quote unquote, in a building for more than 30 years or so, and they're part of like tenant organizations or businesses or like churches that need to be spotlighted, drop it in the comments. And then the contact information for Naomi will be in the comments. And so you can definitely reach out to her and let her know, hey, I need to be at that town hall. I need to be at that next meeting in order to give voice to Flatbush. Oh, and that's how people in Flatbush, when those who are living in Flatbush, if you hear someone say Flatbush, it's a particular type of community who now reigns in Flatbush, and we love every single hue and shade and flag wave up. We love every single one of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you stay right there though. So those of you who know, I will be back on Thursday on my personal page doing the other show that I host for. And please just stay tuned for every Monday night, where there is a different person who sits on the Doria Lowry show and who shares what they do to make someone or some group of people live their life just a little bit better than they did yesterday. So peace and blessings. This is a Learn to Grow You moment, where I plant seeds to help you grow. And I look forward to seeing you on the next go round. So I will see you all later.